You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abinand Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
And you can find our show online at clearviewtodayshow.com. You can email us at the very same website, contact@clearviewtodayshow.com. Or if you'd like to write into the show, let us know how you're enjoying it or have your questions answered live on the air. Send us a text, 252-582-5028.
That's right. We want you guys to take part in what we're doing here at the Clearview Today Show. You can keep the conversation going. You can do that by supporting the podcast. You can share it online with your friends and family. Leave us a good 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Absolutely nothing less than 5 stars. Today is March 20th, which means our Date the Word is coming from Ephesians 3:20. It says, "Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us."
I had this conversation with our student ministry a couple weeks ago, and I was challenging them to think about the way that they pray, because we've got great students, fantastic 6th through 12th graders, love them to pieces. But sometimes when they pray, they're very small, safe prayers.
Yeah.
God, keep us safe and help us to glorify you, and all that's good.
Yep.
But I challenged them. I was like, do you believe that God is capable of doing anything that you can imagine? And everyone was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, do you believe that God is capable of doing more than you can imagine?
Right.
Because he's greater than you. And I pointed them to this verse, and they're like, yeah. I said, then pray for big things.
Yes, absolutely.
Pray for big specific things. And I shared some of the things that I was praying for our student ministry with them, and their eyes got kind of big. They're like, "You're really praying that?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm praying for that, and I'm trusting that God's gonna do it, because God is capable of doing even more than we think to ask." So the challenge for us then is to dream big, to think big, and to pray and ask God for those specific things.
We really believe that, what Jesus said, you have not because you ask not.
Right.
And so we, like you said, like Ryan said, we pray real vague, broad things. God, let your will be done. Okay, fine. That's a perfectly valid prayer to pray. But one of the things that we do, especially here at Clearview Church, is that we make, like Ryan said, make our prayers big and specific.
Yeah.
God, help the Clearview Today Show touch the world. Help it to go into other nations. Help it to bring people back to Christ. We want this show, even though it's recorded in a little small town in North Carolina, to touch the world. Yeah. And so people are like, well, realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But God is going to make it happen if we ask for it, and we do ask for it every single day. Right. And so that's one of the hearts behind this show. And again, all these verses are coming to you guys from the Date the Word app. You can get it for free right now on iPhone or Android. Every single day connects today's date to God's Word with the hope of making it more memorable to you. Thank you to Date the Word for partially sponsoring this episode. Ryan,
John,
a lot of people were writing in and saying that they liked our haiku game that we played last week.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
You guys enjoyed that, didn't you? That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. If you didn't listen to the show, we did a game last week, or it might have been the week before, where I found 2 haikus written by professional poets, and I put one through ChatGPT, which is an online AI software. And I said, just write a haiku. That's all. That's only the instruction I gave it. This time I said, write a haiku about the wind. And I found 2 professional haikus about wind. So there's like a common theme because people wanted to see it again. So I felt like we could play it again. I'm going to read you these 3 haikus, and I want you to tell me which one you think was written by AI. Just so you guys know, a haiku is a Japanese poem. It's got 3 lines, 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, 5 syllables in the last line. Here's the first one. "I think it is time," said the dandelion seed, "to take on the wind." Okay. Here's the second one. "Whispers in the breeze, dancing leaves in gentle sway, wind's soft melody." Here's the third. "Like the wind you run, wild, free, and fearless you move. I shall be your guard." 2 of those are written by professional poets. One of them was written by a software in a matter of 0.3 seconds. They're all kind of beautiful.
They're very good. They're all beautiful.
Just kind of funny.
I'm thinking the AI generated haiku is number 2.
Ryan, you're right.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. I thought it would be obvious if I put it first again, so I put it in the middle.
Okay, so full disclosure. Number two was my guess. David was tipping me off that it was number 2.
Well, how does David know?
Number 2.
Oh, that's just your guess. He's a haiku man.
But
That's
here's why it was my guess. It was too perfect.
Yeah.
It was too polished. It was too self-contained. So number one seems like it is sort of rough a little bit. I think it is time, said the dandelion seed, to take on the wind.
Yeah.
Number three seems like it's part of a larger story.
True.
Like the when you run, I shall be your guard. What are you guarding them from? How are you related to the wind? How are you related to this person who thinks to the wind? Number two is the only one that is self-contained and is so polished and like just the way the language is used, it seemed too good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like ChatGPT. If you use ChatGPT a lot, you'll start seeing patterns. Like it doesn't do like subtextual stuff.
Yeah.
So like I think it's time, said the dandelion seed, to take on the wind. There's like a subtextual sort of like, oh wow, like there's
like a personification of the dandelion
there's some
seed.
defiance. There's like a story behind it. ChatGPT is more like, I'm gonna do what I think a human would do, which is describe nature. So like whispers in the breeze. It's just kind of ethereal. There's no like personality behind it. Yeah, you were right. That was the AI one.
Nice.
Very cool. I'm gonna pose that one to Dr. Shah, see what he thinks.
Very nice. I like this game. Let's make this a regular thing.
It's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
I'll
fun.
have to look up sometime so you can play.
Yeah, let's do it.
Write in and let us know what your thoughts on AI are. What is your experience with AI? Maybe you use ChatGPT or something like Grammarly or some other AI source. Write in and let us know how it's working for you. 252-582-5028.
Also, we did have people send in some haikus. We did.
Okay.
Maybe we'll read them online.
Nice.
Or on air, I should say.
Very good. You can send those haikus in and we're going to play this game again.
Yeah.
Or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. We'll be back after this. Elizabeth, my darling bride, what would you say is the most beneficial thing you could do for yourself in the morning?
Probably drink an entire pot of coffee when sitting.
I'd say that's a close second. No, the best thing you can do for yourself is to start every morning with a daily devotional.
If only we had one to talk about.
Well, as it turns out, we have two.
Right now, you can unlock the power of daily inspiration, wisdom, and spiritual growth in our devotional series, 30 Days Through a Crisis and 30 Days to a New Beginning. Written by our pastor, Dr. Abadan Shah, and his wife, Nicole, the 30 Days devotional series is designed to reveal new biblical truths every single day.
That's right, and every day is a new revelation to guide you on your Christian journey toward a more meaningful and purposeful life. You can pick up your copy today from our website, that's clearviewbc.org, or you can grab both books on Amazon, Apple Books, and Audible.
That's 30 Days Through a Crisis and 30 Days to a New Beginning by Abadan and Nicole Shah. And don't forget, these are only the first two in an expanding devotional series, so keep your eyes peeled for future installments.
Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028.
That's right. Happy Wednesday, my dudes. We are here with Dr. Abadan Shah, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism. Dr. Shah, one of the segments that we had a couple of weeks ago really blew up. People really liked this game. We played it again with Ryan on the intro. Wanted to play it with you. I've got 3 haikus for you, 3 poems of Japanese origin.
Okay.
2 of them are written by professional poets. One of them was written by AI in a matter of like 0.3 seconds. I'm going to give you all 3 haikus.
Okay.
I want you to just tell me which one you think is the AI.
Right.
First haiku. I think it is time, said the dandelion seed, to take on the wind. Second haiku. Whispers in the breeze, dancing leaves in gentle sway, wind's soft melody. Haiku number 3. Like the wind you run, wild, free, and fearless you move, I shall be your guard.
The middle one?
Yeah, it's the middle one.
Well
the
done.
listeners at home already knew, but yeah, it's the middle one.
Wow.
What clued you in?
It was just like, huh? It's trying. That's the thing with AI. It's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
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 It pretends to sound just like
A human.
the human, but it's like, you're pretending.
Yeah, it's an imitation.
It's an imitation.
And you can kind of tell. And that was the thing is like the more you use it, like you start to realize. And when you first start using it, it's like, wow,
this is incredible.
This thing is incredible. This thing really thinks and breathes and acts and feels. But then you use it more and more, and it's like, I see the patterns coming through. And this
patterns of thought, patterns of behavior.
It's trying your best.
Full disclosure, the first time we did this, I was stumped. Really? I did not get it, even on a second chance. I didn't get it. I didn't get it right. But this time I was able to.
I think it also helped because they're all three about like one thing. So like the first time it was just 3 haikus. This time I was like, write a haiku about the wind.
I do feel like that made a difference.
Yeah, because you're comparing them.
Yeah,
true.
That's funny.
Well, that's our game.
Well, Dr. Shah, for today's episode, what is the daily encouragement you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with?
Well, the thing I want to tell people is this is election year, and usually, moment we say that in a Christian context, church context, people immediately change the subject, or they will start
Start to bristle up, get a little uncomfortable. Like,
and they will say, I mean, and they kind of start whispering instead of speaking at their normal tone.
That's right.
Because they don't want anybody to find out who they are, what they believe.
Christians are scary people.
Yes.
They're very scary.
Yeah, they're
just
like
spooked over little things.
Like behind closed doors, they're like ready to fight, take on the world.
Yup.
But then the moment it comes time to fight, they're like, well, but I mean, you know how I think. You know how I believe.
How many times have people said that to you? Like, now, preacher man, I'm gonna tell you, you know me.
Yeah.
You know me. I would have said it. If I had been there, I would have said it.
I knew one guy who would say that all the time. Now, you know me. And I was like,
I know you would never say
Unfortunately,
anything.
said a word.
Yeah, you would not have said a word.
I mean, I'm sure God had to help me because I was about to what?
Yeah, it's like, no, you should have said something there. It's like, well, I didn't want to,
Yeah, but you know me. I would have said
I would have. I would have. You know that.
No, you wouldn't have.
No, you wouldn't.
I don't know anything of the kind, brother. I don't know why are Christians so scared of sharing their political views?
Because we have been fed the lie that says we have to keep those two things separate. We have to keep politics and religion separate.
That's right.
And it's a lie. And it's often used by the other side, and sometimes even used by our side because they are misinformed.
Yeah.
But it's in the Constitution, Dr. Shah.
It's
in the
not.
Constitution. What?
No, it's not.
What did he say? Separation of church and state. That's the whole thing. I think that's the same thing as the First Amendment, right?
We the people desire the separation of church and state. That's how it starts.
It's
right?
in the Constitution, people.
No.
It's really crazy that how many people actually think it's not only it means what they think it means, but that it's in our founding document.
Yeah, it's not.
100%. It's not in the.
It's not in. I mean, we have done videos on this, help people understand all these things. That it is really a letter written by President Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist, informing them, and in a sense, he's really telling them, I can't interfere in the state's rights. I can't tell your state not to have a congregational government, a congregational church. So you gotta work this one out there because the federal government cannot get involved.
Right.
And Thomas Jefferson was anti-federalist. Of course, as you know, George Washington and that era was the big government, or at least everything under the central government. Jefferson and others came around and said, no, it needs to be the opposite. The limited government is the better government.
Right. That's right.
And so Jefferson began what we know today as the Democratic Republican Party. And in time, it was just the Democratic Party with Andrew Jackson type Jacksonian political views, which, if you know your history, American history, it's they were pro-slavery.
That's right.
And so later on came the Whig Party, and then came back to the Republican Party, which was taken from Jefferson's Democratic Republican. They just took the Republican.
That's right.
To fight against slavery.
Right.
Yeah, and today's a great day to be talking about the Republican Party.
It's significant because today, March the 20th, in 1854, is the date that the Republican Party was officially established.
That's true.
Now, there's controversy there.
Really?
Yeah, there is controversy there as to which one is the exact date. So, on July 6th, 1854, I found this article where disgruntled voters decided to name its first candidates to fight against the Democrats over this whole slavery issue. So July 6th is considered to be the date. And then there's also another date which is brought up, which is February the 24th, when a small group met in Ripon, Wisconsin, to talk about the whole Kansas-Nebraska Act, which was pro-slavery, and they called themselves Republicans.
So there's some controversy over which date might
What
be
is the actual date?
And then the third one is a meeting was held on March the 20th,
Right.
which is
Today's date.
today's date, 1854, which was also in Ripon, where 53 people were recognized this movement
Right.
within Wisconsin. So that's what I got from this article, that there were possibly 3 different dates.
So there's a spread across multiple different dates, but it's all happening in that same year, 1854.
Right.
It all kind of coalesces there, and things.
10 years or so before
Right.
the Civil War.
And more, and most importantly, they're all centered around this idea of
Yeah.
anti-slavery.
Right.
That's what the Republican Party was founded on.
Right.
And you're not
Right.
going to hear that in today's media.
Yeah.
You're going to hear, in fact, the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Right. That this is, and they will say that, yeah, that may be the case, but in the 40s, 50s, there has been a shift where the Democrats have become like the Republicans, and Republicans have become the Democrats.
So
It's a great flip-flop.
Right. This
Yeah.
this great event that everybody knows of, seemingly, except not really. Only the quote unquote
it never happened.
elite.
Right.
Yeah, the elite intelligent few know that Southern Democrats of then are Southern Republicans today. Same people, just different names.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
that's
they'll say.
not true at all.
Right.
In fact, some of the policies that have been propagated by the Democratic Party still to this day are not in favor of African Americans
Right.
or those who are in the minority. So it's not true at all. But that's the lie that's always propagated, and people buy into that. And if you are not educated, or if you're not aware of the issues, I should say, not educated in the sense of getting an education, but if you're not aware of these issues, then you will say, of course, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, parties can flip-flop. So I guess that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Did this rhetoric, that the flip-flopping of the parties, did that have a birthplace or a genesis that we can kind of point to, or is it sort of gradual over time?
That's what is often claimed. So it's not. It never happened.
Right.
The flip-flop never happened.
Right.
The party policies are still the same, but the impression that is given is that, oh yeah, that's, don't you know that?
Right.
I mean, these are racist people.
Yeah.
And it's like, who, where?
Right.
Okay, that's not true.
Do you think it has anything to do with like wealth, because people in the Republican Party, I guess, saw the benefits of capitalism and business, they became wealthy, and so because of that, people on the outside say, see, anybody who's wealthy has to have abused somebody in order to get it.
But that's not true at all.
No, I know
there
that.
There are a lot of Democrats who are extremely wealthy.
Right, but they don't. I guess they don't. They talk bad about capitalism while benefiting from it.
Benefiting tremendously from
Yeah,
it.
yeah. They
And-
put down capitalism as the evil
Yeah.
that our society runs on. Privately, I mean, it really helps me a
They
lot, but
take
we're not going to talk.
every advantage of the loopholes and the tax laws and everything.
That's what we call a critical hippopotamus.
What is
A
that?
hypocrite.
Very nice.
Critical hippopotamus.
Was that? Have you used that before?
No,
Was
it just dropped into my head right here.
For real?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and patent that now, Nicholas.
my
If you'll go ahead and
Critical
call up the
hippopotamus.
patent office, I don't want anybody
That's
using
crazy.
that. And if you do use it, I want a quarter every time you say it.
There you go. It's a critical hippopotamus.
That was pretty
It's a way
good.
to call somebody a hypocrite without to their face.
That was pretty
It
good,
just,
man.
Just right here, just
Critical
dropped into my mind.
hippopotamus.
People ask us all the time, Dr. Shah, are we a political show? Is this is Clearview Today? Is this a politics show?
Not necessarily. We're just a Christian show.
Right.
We're just talking about values coming from the Bible. And if that means that we need to stand for those candidates who support our values, does that make us political? No, I think that makes us a concerned citizen. That makes us people who care about our freedom, so we can worship according to the dictates of our conscience. That's what it makes us.
That's right. That's right. And I'm glad you say that, because there's so many political shows out there that have Christian bent, whereas
Yeah.
we're a Christian show who knows the importance of politics.
Right.
And I think it seems like a negligible difference, but it's not. In fact, I think it makes all the difference.
Yes.
Because your Christian identity, your identity as a pastor and as a leader in the community, you understand that because of that, politics can't be ignored. It's not
Right.
the other way around, where you're a politician and you're trying to be a voice in the world of politics, so I need to pander to Christians.
Well, if you think that political policy is not going to impact the way that you worship and the way that you conduct, religious business, you're either intentionally deluding yourself or you're just woefully naive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I having grown up overseas, I'm beginning to see, and I have been seeing it for several years now, so it's not like beginning like yesterday or this morning, but I have been seeing this for a while, that we are becoming sort of a minority. And not because we are a minority, I think we are a majority. I think there are a lot of people who believe this and feel the same way, but they're afraid to speak out.
Right.
They're afraid to, or some don't even get involved. I mean, 20% of your people vote in the election.
That's bad.
That's
That is
terrible.
shocking. That is sad. That is angering to me. That how are we not voting?
Right.
Only 20%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's worse because it's like it demands an answer. Like, why aren't people voting? Why aren't people taking this not only as a privilege but as a duty, as a responsibility? It's not that you get to vote. You should. It's a moral ought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ought to vote.
Yeah. I can't think of any possible excuse other than like I physically was unable to make it to the polls on that day. But even that, there's plenty of early voting. There's plenty of opportunities for you to, more than just the one day, to get to the polls.
Mail-in voting?
Yeah,
Right.
I think you've said it. It just shows where your priorities are.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the answer is you didn't care,
Yeah.
and that's why you didn't vote.
Exactly.
I think it's sometimes some people have been disappointed through the years with politicians. They've been disappointed with political parties. And I get it. I totally get it, because there have been candidates, there have been people who ran under an agenda or a campaign slogan, but they were not truly what they claimed to be.
Right.
And so what happened is people fought for them, stood behind them, voted for them, campaigned for them, canvassed for them, and then come to find out, wait, they did that? Forget it. I don't care anymore. Well, it is what it is. You know what? I'm just going to live my life, and that's it.
Yeah.
But if every generation does that, we're just going to live our life and that's it. Don't think for a moment that things will be just it.
Right.
That's it. Because things will go downhill. And they have been going downhill for quite some time. In fact, I would say in the past 4 years, it's on a turbo speed.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying. We either said it earlier this week or last week, but we said, people mistake being passive for being good, for being virtuous. If I just do nothing, I can't mess up, or I can't contribute to the problem.
Right.
But someone's going to be active when you are passive.
Right.
Someone's going to take control.
Yeah.
And it's the people that we don't want.
Right. And I'm aware of people unhappy with that sometimes. I've had to face people who challenged me or call me names or judge my motives. And at first it was very bothersome. I was like, wait, I don't think like that.
Right.
I don't believe that way. I am saying what I'm saying, and I mean what I'm saying. And it was very disconcerting for them because I don't look like the person they're describing.
Right.
I say, oh no, you're pretending to be that kind of person. You're trying to ally yourself with those kind of people. I mean, they're really saying,
Oh, yeah.
white, middle class, middle aged people.
People in power.
Yeah,
People
that's what they're
authority.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah, that's those.
So even though you're not it, you're still hanging around that, so you get the benefit of what they have to offer.
And these are not like hypothetical conversations either. These are conversations that have happened right here in this building, where people will say horrifying things like this, and it's all disguised as moral virtue. I'm morally superior, and I'm fighting for the little guy, the oppressed.
Yeah, and I want to say you're absolutely ignorant of history or current events. You have an ulterior motive. You're trying to get into some position somewhere, and so you're singing like a canary.
Right.
You're singing the tune that you think those people that will back you up want to hear.
That's exactly it.
And you're accusing me when I'm not even running for a position.
Yeah, I'm a pastor of a church.
I'm not even running for a position.
office.
Yeah, I'm a pastor of a church. I have a radio show, but in some way I'm contributing to the moral downfall of the West.
Yeah.
How does this work?
Or running for some position, some power.
Yeah.
Like how? Also, the people will come here and give. I'm like, yeah, but they were giving without me even talking about it.
Right.
Right.
I don't have to do that for them to give. I don't have to do that to attract people. In fact, many times I have to go, is that worth sharing right now? Should I even address that from the pulpit? So I'm not like, let me say as many conservative slogans, Republican slogans, so that people will come flooding into the doors of this church. And and say, he looks Indian, but he sounds like us, so we should go here.
Yeah, and we should put our money in the offering plate and just
Yeah.
put it all down at the altar of conservatism with the guise of it being a church.
Because this guy, he's not one of us, and yet he talks like us. That's what we need.
And to insinuate that your goal is something that shallow, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, like what
Yeah.
do you get? What do you get out of it?
Right, that's the thing. It's like, well, without it, we're doing great.
Right. Right.
So why should I do that?
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this radio show, even like last year. How long have we had this radio show? About a year and a half, going on 2 years
Yeah.
now. One of the reasons that we wanted to do it is because it can get tricky to speak convictions like that from the pulpit. Now, we still do it, and you still speak your biblical convictions, but people feel way more emboldened, I guess, to attack you or to come against you or just to hinder our ministry. But with this radio show, it has allowed us a freedom to speak the truth that God has put on your heart.
Right.
While also garnering support for people who actually listen to the show and actually support us and who do give through the show.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we want people to give.
Yeah.
We want people to support, but we want people to understand that this is not a put on. This is not so that we can go back and read my articles. I've been writing this for 20 plus years.
Right.
I'm so sorry that you just found that out,
Right.
but I've been writing it for 20 years.
Right.
I've been in the newspaper. I've written articles. In my PhD work, we talked about this some time back, when it came time for me to take my seminars, because there was nothing available in the field that I'm in, which is textual criticism, because there was nobody else but me.
Right.
So I was like, what should I take? And I said, you know what? I'm going to take early American history. I did PhD work, not dissertation work, but PhD work in early American history. That's how I know it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't like read up quick points from some book and it's like, okay, so how can I say things that the conservatives will love me?
Right. Yeah, we 100% appreciate every single donation that the Clearview Today show receives, but we still believe this whether or not you donate or whether or
correct.
not.
That's
Yep.
right. We want you to support it. I hope you will, because we want the word to spread.
Yes.
Well, the word is spreading.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, do you want to talk about two of the really, really awesome things that have happened in the near past?
Yes.
Near past? In the recent
days.
In the recent days. In the recent
you got
days.
so
Near's
excited.
not wrong, but recent past.
Yeah. There was two really big ones.
One, we got to pray with President Trump.
That's right.
This was just not too long ago. And I got a phone call from people who said, hey, we would love for you to be there along with these four or five pastors, and 6 altogether. And would you consider doing that? I was like, me?
Do you remember what happened when you got the text?
We
were eating lunch.
I bit the side of my mouth. Because I was like, huh? And hurts.
Yeah, I was like, hey, what happened? And he was like, oh, hang on 1 second. And then he pulled the napkin away and he was blood. I was like, oh, he really chomped his lip.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? And he was like, oh, that hurts. I was like, tell me what happened.
What happened? You're not going to believe it.
Yeah, and then you read
I
that
just got
text
asked
out.
to pray with President Trump. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
And so, of course, went backstage, and there's a lot of security, and all these people are everywhere, and it was just amazing. And then we waited, all the pastors, and these are great guys, by the way, great guys. And they even put me in the center and said, hey, let's take a quick selfie. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I took a selfie, and then one of the aides came and said, okay, so the president's going to be here in a few minutes, and this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. You need to pray, and then we're going to take a quick picture together with everybody. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, he came, and I mean, I was just shocked.
Yeah.
First time to see him in live, standing there. And then his demeanor was so kind.
Really?
Yeah. Because you see him on the stage.
Right.
You see him on television. You see him debating people. And I mean, he's ready to fight.
Oh, yeah. He's
Right.
at it.
Kinda fiery.
And then to see the same man comes like, hey, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. I was like,
Wow.
oh.
Wow.
Not the first impression you were expecting.
No, I was like, oh, I can talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Mr. President, we're praying for a great awakening in America, and we believe God's going to bring it, and we believe that God's doing something in our nation, and we're praying for you. We're behind you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
That's
thank you.
amazing. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a great honor.
Oh, amen. And then at that same event, you were able to meet Mark Robinson. Was that the first time you'd met him?
First time I
person?
met him in person.
Okay.
But I had seen him in other places before.
So that was a couple of weeks ago. And then last week, you actually were able to meet him again
That's right.
That's really
right.
cool.
There's a Republican Party headquarters that has been opened up here in Vance County. And it's been there before, but they opened a new building.
Right.
And so it's going really well. And he came for the ribbon cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And he saw me from there. He's like, hey.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, he's got a
recognized
good
you.
memory.
Yeah.
And so we shook hands. And John, you got to.
I got to film him, and I shook his hand, and I think we all individually took a picture with
That's
him.
right.
And shook his hand, and then
That's right.
yeah, I filmed him kind of leaving. It was kind of cool because I was like following him with the camera. He went out, so I was like, I'm just gonna follow him to his car.
Yeah.
And then he like turned and looked behind me. I was like, is it okay if I film you driving away? Oh yeah, absolutely. He was just really nice. I was like,
Yeah.
thanks. So I just stood there in the parking lot and just filmed them driving off. But you said something that day when we went out to lunch, which was in the past couple of, I would say, in the past like month.
Yeah.
There have been so many encounters like that, and it's evidence that God is doing something through this show.
Yes.
God is really moving things into place, and I think that's a huge encouragement to me, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, prior to my praying with President Trump, you guys, John,
we got to see him at NRB.
Ryan,
Yep.
and Ellie were able to see him at NRB where he came and gave a speech.
Yes, he came. He gave the presidential address at NRB,
Yep.
and that was something that I don't think was, they put it on the website, but then it was kind of hush-hush because it had Thursday special event.
Yeah, it was very much like you would think there was this giant fanfare around it. It was sort of just like a line item in the agenda.
Yes.
So the leading up to that, Ellie and I were like, we're gonna go get in line no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter if the line is all the way through the hotel. We're gonna stand in line and try to get in because I mean, I was like, we're gonna have to wait for hours. No, we were in there in like 30 minutes, and we got great seats. Got the chance to listen to him speak. That was the first time I'd ever heard him speak in person, and it was incredible. They invite all of the presidential candidates on election years, and he was the only one who came.
Wow.
Yep, that's true.
Wow.
He was
And
the only
great.
one.
It was incredible.
He was the only one who took the time to actually come to NRB and speak. And he said something that really struck me as I was listening to him. Because, like you said, we heard him speak twice in the span of like 7 days. Maybe
Yeah, it
like
was
10
crazy.
days.
It's like, are we seeing the presidents again?
I know, right? Yeah. And so I was like, once you heard him once, you go and hear him at the other, and it's like, okay, this is a lot of the same. But he said something in NRB that stuck out, and I really respect him for saying this. He said, the left is out of control. They are taking down statues. They're taking down memorials. They are taking down everything that our country represents. He said, but I promise you, they will never touch the cross of Christ.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I mean, he got like 5 or 6 standing
Thunderous
ovations
applause.
that night,
Yeah.
but that one went on for
man.
like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was when
As
he
soon
said,
as he said that, it was like people were to their feet cheering. I mean,
and
it
I
was-
believed
good.
him.
Good.
Yeah.
I believed him 100%.
Because that's how it should be.
Right.
That's how it should be. And the freedom of religion is what we're saying.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
that's what we need brought back in our nation, and not underhanded attempts to curtail our freedom or to silence us or to find ways to harass people because they stand up for their faith and their convictions.
That's right. And we want to encourage you guys as well. Share this episode because these are not just Dr. Shah's convictions. They are Christian convictions. And so what he's standing on is found right in the Word of God. And this show, I'm telling you, I really believe it. Sitting here right now, I really believe God is going to do something huge through this show. It's coming. And it doesn't need to just be us three and the team. And it can be you. You can be part of that as well.
Yes, and one of the ways you do that is by giving and contributing to the show. We tell you how to do this at the end of every episode, but that's how you go from just sitting and consuming the show to becoming part of what God is doing through the Clearview Today Show. That's our prayer for you, that you would click that donate button on our website, clearviewtodayshow.com, and become part of this movement that God is starting through Clearview Today.
It's not a strange thing. This happens all the time. There are shows that I've watched in the past that I never contributed to. I never gave 1 red cent, and then they went on to do amazing things. And then I always would think back because they would say, hey, I want to thank so much the people who got us here, the people who sponsored us, the people who believed in us.
Yeah.
And there have been many times where those companies went on to do great, impactful things for Jesus' kingdom. And I said, man, that could have been me.
Yeah.
I could have contributed to that.
Yes.
That's why we want to say it here at the outset, that it could be you.
Yes. Make sure you visit our website, clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right.
And you can text us if anything in the episode today struck a chord with you, maybe made you think more critically about where you stand on things. Write in and let us know. 252-582-5028. We love hearing from you guys. John, what's coming up on tomorrow's episode?
Tomorrow we are talking about the cost of discipleship. Our salvation is full and free, but it costs Jesus very, very dearly. So also with us, our Christian lives, it's going to cost us. We're going to talk about that a little bit on tomorrow's episode.
Make sure you guys are there. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.